Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're taking a look at this ink. This is Doldam from 3 Oysters. That's the correct number of oysters right there. I reached out to 3 Oysters through Instagram and said, hey guys, I've got a little channel I like to review ink, and they said, cool, here's some ink. So they sent me several different colors from a few of their lines. This is the I Color You Soul line, which has all kinds of colors from that represent like things in Seoul, South Korea. This stuff is made in South Korea. Here's what's in the box. Actually have a very nice little bit of protection here, kind of like the Pelikan Edelsteins have this this ring at the top. It's also a ring or a little platform of foam in the bottom. Take that off, and you have this little bottle. This is a 38 milliliter bottle. Has this stone wall on here. As I understand it, Doldam is a like a section of Seoul that has a bunch of these stone walls, and so this ink is supposed to be showing off this color of this stone wall. It's not the same color that's on the front of the box. You don't like that's not a great color, but this color is actually kind of awesome. So it has a little cutoff on the corner there, so if you want to display it like thusly, you could. It's kind of catty corner, catty wumpus. I also some bottles have this here so that you can tilt it this way and get like the absolute last drop of ink out of the bottom. This one is a little bit like wobbly and uncertain, and I wouldn't do that. I think that's just a display corner. It does look dope. All right, so let's see what's inside here. This is what's inside here, actually. This is Doldam, and as I said, this is a really cool looking color of ink. I mean, look at this thing. That's awesome. It's got like browns and grays, like a little bit of like olive green in there, really like old weathered stone. And then this is obviously my Rhodia 80 GM squared paper. This is a coated paper, and so nothing goes through the back. Actually, there's a couple little dots right here. Look like they might be a little bit of bleed through. This ink has been living in this. This is my very favorite pen ever. This is my Panther 40 that Audrey got me a million years ago. This has a fine flex nib in it, which is a fairly wet nib, but not out of control or anything like that. Just a really nice nib to use for everyday writing. This is, the flow on this ink is actually a little bit odd. It's kind of thin, and it's on the wet side. So I'm using it in a wet-ish nib with a fairly wet, thin ink. So you can tell it's thin when you look at the letters and such, and you can see that they are way darker in some areas than others. That generally means that as you write with a pen, you are sort of dragging the ink with you, and then wherever you pick up the pen, that's where it stops and kind of pools. And so you get that interesting shading and that sort of thing. You can see it right here in this ampersand really well, like the bottom and stuff where the ink just kind of stops. That's way darker than this top loop, and in the exclamation point right here, the top is barely visible, bottom is heavy. So you get a lot of that with this ink because it's quite thin. Also, of course, this is a coated paper, and so that has that effect too. It does have definitely some shading, no sheen. That I can see on here. No sheen, just a shading ink. And here's the thing. The performance on this is... it's not great. If you're going to use it on something like Rhodia or a coated paper, you'll probably be fine. If you're going to use it on like a wheat straw paper, you'll probably be okay. And we'll look at examples of those. But also, if you're going to use it on things like sugarcane or other sort of heavy bond but uncoated papers, it's not going to go well for you, unfortunately. This ink does one of my least favorite things, and that is that it feathers. I can put up with some bleed. I can put up with a little bit of spread. When you feather, we're having problems. All right, so let's look at it on a couple of other... actually, let's go ahead and do the water test right quick. Okay, so let's get some water on this guy. That ought to do it. All right, give it a little bit of a shimmy. Spread that out. Cool. You can see it's already swirling away, turning into a light pale green there. Wait till you see the chromatography on this one, though. This is just a cool ink all around, except for how it behaves on other papers. All right, let's mop this up. Good mop. I don't want to swish it around or splash it or anything. Yeah, so this does not really have any water resistance. You get this like really interesting kind of mustardy gold here, but then it totally disappears over here. So yeah, I wouldn't trust this around any water. You can barely even see the ink on this napkin. It's kind of such a weirdo ink, this one. I can't decide if I love it or if I hate it. I just don't know. All right, so here's what the chromatography looks like on this ink. Obviously it starts down here and then it fades up this way, and that's kind of what you end up seeing here on the paper. You get this weird mustardy brown stuff here, but then all these, look at all the other stuff in this ink. It's nuts, man. You get like purples in there and blues and this super bright line of blue up at the top. This is a complicated ink, and man, I wish it performed better. You're going to keep hearing me say that for a minute. All right, let's look at this on some other papers and then look at some writing samples. This is it on the copy paper. This is 30% recycled copy paper. It's a 20-pound bond. And on here you can see that it did a whole bunch of spreading. You get feathers all over the place. I mean, look at these guys. Some of my letters even sort of blend together, like the F and the R and the O, and like this. It's just it spreads too much, and it bleeds right through here. Not a huge surprise. A lot of things bleed through here, but I mean, you can see the other things on this page. Almost nothing did this badly. What was this? Colorverse in a broad 6. That's a way bigger nib and wetter than this one, but just comes right through this paper. Over here we have an ink journal. This is a Tomoe River ink journal, and of course it behaves itself perfectly well here. It looks really nice. You get all these cool colors here where it pooled, and it looks real good. So if you like that effect where it like pulls the shading and you get like different weights in different bits, like the top of this D, this Tomoe River stuff is real nice looking with that ink. And of course it doesn't come through Tomoe River. Almost nothing does. Very, very few things will, but this one behaves perfectly well here because it's coated. The other paper I have here is, this is a currently ink, this is wheat straw, and it looks pretty good here. You lose a lot of the depth, actually, that you would get on a Rhodia or a Tomoe River because this wheat straw stuff is not coated, but it is pretty thick and it stands up just fine to that ink. So it doesn't make it bleed, feather, or a spread, but you do lose some of the character. So if you keep this ink on a good paper, it's really, really interesting. And then lastly, this is just some notes sort of things. I was taking some notes on a set of papers I was grading, and this is what you get if you put it on. This is sugarcane paper from Office Depot, and sugarcane is usually pretty good, and this paper is actually pretty good with most other inks. But on here you get like feathers and bleeding, and I mean, look at this moral theory down here, like just feathers everywhere, and then on the back of here you get, definitely some bleed through. And you don't get a whole lot of bleed through on sugarcane. Like, it's pretty rare. And I also got some bleed through on my Domtar and some other things from my blank slate paper company, and nothing else has bled through Domtar and stuff except for Doldam. So, if you're using Doldam, be aware of what you're getting into. It's just not a paper that really plays well with, or rather an ink that plays well with some papers. So here is the swatch here. I can't find my coloring card of it, but here's some things that are pretty close. This is Roaring Cleaner's Sketch Ink Lily, which is a nano pigment ink, and a really weirdo, like dark green brown murk color. It's sort of close. It's way more green though, but it catches a lot of these green tones. Over here we have, let's do that one last. In fact, let's just move to some grays. So we got Faber-Castell's Stone Gray, which has a lot of the same kind of notes. It's not as dark. It's more of a gray than Doldam is. I don't know what the hell to call this color. It's a weirdo rock color, but you get a lot of the same notes in Stone Gray. This is a fairly expensive ink, but so is this. Actually, for 38 mils, this is 18 bucks at your favorite retailers, your Anderson Pens or your Van Ness or some such. So fairly expensive for a smallish bottle, 38 mils. And also, here's Caran d'Ache Infinite Gray. I think this one's more gray, and this one's slightly more like brown, I guess, more brown gray. This one's definitely closer. But look, if you want this brown gray stone color, get this Faber-Castell Stone Gray. This stuff is great. A little expensive, but you get more in the bottle, I think, and it's just a better ink. It behaves itself better on other things. And if you want to go for other grays, one of my very favorite grays is the Mont Blanc 90 Years Permanent Gray. You can still find this every once in a while. I haven't looked for it in a while, but this is sort of a quasi-small run, limited thing, but it's around for years, so you can probably still find some of that. I've got at least 2 or 3 bottles of it because I love it. And the other one is Mont Blanc's Oyster Gray, which I actually haven't had a chance to use in a pen much, but you get these sort of light gray tones in there and a little bit of that greenish tinge as well. So you get a lot of the same kinds of colors, even if you don't capture it as well as like maybe Faber-Castell Stone Gray does. So these are all inks that I would try maybe instead of Doldam. It's just, it's cool if you keep it on good paper, but the moment you take it off of like coated paper, you're going to have a bad time. But if you're a good paper person and you only use good paper and you don't want to use that pen anywhere else, Cool, cool, cool. It has good flow. It hasn't stopped up in my pen. It has a damn cool color. Chromatography is amazing. Anyway, so that's the story of 3 Oysters Doldam. Go check out this rocky ink. Get yourself a sample. I would definitely say start with a sample first. You can get those in 3 and 4 mil samples over at Anderson Pens and Van Ness Pens, respectively. So tell them I said hi. Check out this ink. See you later. Peace. Look at this ink. This is 3 Oysters.